All right.
It's first pitch. I'm the Prez of Bryan Leonard with us, one of our best baseball handicappers found at WagerTalk.com, and up a ridiculous 160% on his bankroll dating back to the start of last year in baseball. And a great start this year too, Brian. This is probably your best sport, one of. We love having you on. Thanks for coming on, brother.
I appreciate it. It's interesting how you mentioned best sport because people always ask that. And when I started about 35 years ago, it was the NBA. Then it was college football. And the last few years, it's been baseball. So I don't know what it is, but you've got to keep up with all the changes and all the different sports. And if you don't, you'll fall off. And that's what we're all trying to do is keep up with the Joneses, I guess, and continue on with our expertise. And I know being from Canada there, you're a big hockey fan and big hockey handicapper, and it's an exciting time of year.
You know, Brian, before we get into all these games, and we have to keep this show to 30 minutes today, so many people, why should I buy picks from a handicapper? I'm in the car driving to get my coffee this morning, and one of the guys on talk radio today was going off about, who these idiots that buy picks, what kind of, if you were so good at buying picks, if you were so good at picking, why would you need to sell them, blah, blah, blah. Well, the response to that is, if you were such a good stockbroker, why would you be taking other people's money? And furthermore, you need a hell of a bankroll to make a living, even as an incredible bettor. But putting that all aside, you want to know why you buy picks, people? Because if you bet on Bryan Leonard's baseball, you would be up 160% on your money in 13 months. Warren Buffett writes books about those type of numbers. Lee Iacocca would dream of those type of numbers. I mean, we're talking 160% return on your money in 13 months. That's why you buy picks, because these guys know what they're doing. They take it seriously. They study all day. And if you don't believe me, just listen to how we break down games. Maybe not how I do, but at least Brian.
Let me touch on that. First, two things. I buy picks myself. If there's somebody out there that handicaps a sport, the WNBA, I used to be hockey, there are guys that have a winning record overall. I want to get in on them. So I spend thousands of dollars a year buying other people's picks or trading picks with other people. So I fully understand that. And as for buying the picks, and on the opposite side, they'll say, as you mentioned, why are these guys selling the picks if they're that good? Let's say I'm betting $1,000 a game, and the current normal odds in football are minus 110. So I'm laying the Packers minus 6.5, 110. If there was another sports book where I could get the Packers 6.5 even money, 6.5 plus 120, wouldn't I do it? Of course you'd do it. Any bettor out there would. So since we're handicapping the games myself, let's say I'm betting that game for $1,000, and I could sell picks enough where I could make $100 on that. Basically, I'm betting the team that I'm betting minus the 6.5, not at minus 110, but even money because I'm getting $100 in sales based on that. So anybody out there who says if they were any good, they'd be betting more of their own money as opposed to selling it. We're doing the same kind of work, and if we sell the picks, it lowers our cost so we can make more profit for ourselves, more profit for our clients. I just don't understand it. There's a lot of jealousy out there.
Yeah, it's absurd. Brian, let's get into it, brother. San Diego against Washington today. Washington 11-12 on the season, 14-9 to the over. San Diego 14-11 on the season and 10-14 on the under. You know, I've been telling people all year, bet the San Diego under. So far, I'm right. Washington, 65% of the general public on them, but they're a big, big favorite. I mean, you can find 200s on the board, but they're somewhere around minus 185. We have a 7 on the board, and we've got Strasburg on the mound against Lauer. Both pitchers.
Actually, let me cut you off. Strom's supposed to be going today for San Diego. They did make a pitching change.
Oh, they made a pitching change. Sorry, I had an update. Oh, yeah, Stram versus Scherzer. My bad. I was looking somewhere else. But, well, that's better for San Diego. 3 ERA, 1.16 whip. Scherzer hasn't started out the way we would expect him to, but he is obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball. I can't bet under 7. I don't bet under 7. What do you like in this game?
I've got a little bit of value on San Diego. I like Strom. He's been one of those guys that has either pitched in the bullpen or started. He's got a lot of talent, strikes a lot of guys out. My numbers rate him 13% better than an average pitcher. A quick little tip for those that just look at the board. Check out what the openers are. Check out how the games go on. The lines are going on. If you see a big name pitcher like a Scherzer or one of the bigger pitchers in baseball, if money is coming in against them, there's a good chance that the underdog is the right play in that game. This one is not that much. I think it opened in the 180 range, so we've not seen a lot of it. But for future reference, if you see money coming in against one of the elite starters and you like to play underdogs, that's the games to do it. Overall is one of the things I look at. But I like San Diego side here. I only made this line much less than that. The bullpen from San Diego is much better than Washington's. I've got them 11% better. Washington only hits lefties at home 3% better than the league average. They did get back some decent players. They had a nice call-up. Kaboom is called up a shortstop. So he's one of the top rookies in baseball this year. He should be getting a start today for Washington. That's exciting, but I think there's some value on San Diego here.
Brian, Miami, they've won 4 of their last 6 games. They're on the road tonight. They're playing Philadelphia, who's just in a disastrous spot in the season, but it will happen to every single good team. They've only won 1 of their last 5 games, and here they sit as a minus 175-ish favorite, 8.5 on the board. We got Urena versus Eichhoff. Not great pitchers all around. Miami does struggle to hit the ball. They put up a 3 against Philly, a 2 against Cleveland, a 3 against Cleveland. And I think 3 is really around where they're going to average this year. If they get 3 tonight, can Philly get 6? I like Philly here. I'm not going to take them at such high juice, which is what leads me to over the total of 8.5.
Yeah, this game was real tight yesterday, and Philly gives up a homer late. Miami wins that game on the road, and we talked, I believe it was last week or maybe the week before. I don't know if you were there, but I talked about playing Miami, a young team. I prefer them playing at home than on the road, but they did get that win yesterday. Usually, if you find a tough battle where it goes back and forth, it's a real close game, and one team wins the night before, normally I have a slight lean to the other team to even it up. Baseball's a long season. I made this line 182, so it's showing slight value on Philadelphia. Not enough to place a bet here, but I don't mind Eichhoff. I rate him 5% better than the league average. But yeah, you're right. This Philadelphia team right now has been a disappointment. I played them season wins under, so I'm liking that so far. But it's tough to lay those kind of prices on a team like this that's struggling right now.
Oakland in Toronto tonight, playing the Vlad-led Blue Jays. Very exciting time in Toronto. There's going to be a ton of fans in the seats tonight. This will be the best atmosphere of the year in Toronto. They're 11-14 on the season. They're minus 1 unit if you've bet them money-wise. Oakland is 14-13 on the season. The Blue Jays find themselves as a favorite, minus 130. The over and under is 9. Fears versus Stroman. Look, Stroman's had a really good start to the season, ERA-wise, whip-wise, number-wise. He's just 1-3 on the season, but that's going to happen when you're pitching for Toronto. Here's what I know. There's got to be 10 cents extra value on Oakland tonight just because it's Vlad's initiation, if you will. This is a big deal. This is one of the highest touted prospects in years, the number 1 prospect in the league. A guy who can hit for contact, average, home runs, and he's 2 weeks off of 19 I don't want to take Toronto for that reason because I think it's slightly overvalued. I'm going to go to the over, my friend. I think we're going to get more than 9 runs in this game.
I slightly favor the dog here. I got Mike Fiers and Marcus Stroman rated within 2% of each other. Stroman's been one of those guys that when he's off, he's bad. And when he's on, he's good. And this has been one of those seasons. He's been great. But you know as well as anybody how much he struggled the last few years. But he's a guy that has a lot of potential. And those are the hardest guys to handicap, as you've seen. One day he can go out there and throw a one-hitter. Other days he has been a journeyman. But he's capable. He's about an average pitcher in Major League Baseball. The big advantage for Oakland here is the bullpen. Much better than the Toronto bullpen. We'll see how it goes in Toronto. Like you said, it's a very exciting game for the fans. Everybody's going to be watching this game. I'm sure this will be the highest rated. It'll be interesting to see how this goes with the American hockey teams in the playoffs tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays from the ratings in Canada. But, normally if there's a lot of hype on something, I'm looking to avoid it.
Right.
And so right now I'm leaning a little bit to Oakland.
Right, I agree 100%. Boston Red Sox, they've won 2 games in a row. Let's consider that a streak, if you will. Both of them against Detroit, 11-4, 7-3, but they did split that series. They're hosting Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has started out unbelievable. They've lost 5 of 7, though. A lot of books still have this game off the board, but you can find a line around 155 with 8 as the total. The bottom line for me is anytime I can get an 8 or a 9 on a Boston game, I'm going to probably jump on the over blindly. They went over that total against Detroit with 7-3 win, again 11-4 win. I mean, obviously, there's going to be many games that they won't go over an 8 or a 9, but I think if you bet it blindly, that type of number for Boston, you're going to be up. You're going to be up at the end of the season. No starter named yet for Boston, yet they are a favorite. Amazing.
Well, none of the places I have is showing it right now. My numbers are showing the price is supposed to go. So I don't know what to do with this without any number to play on. I don't know if I have any value at all here.
Let's move on.
Yeah, we should move on.
Milwaukee at the Mets. 13-3 Milwaukee, 13-11 New York Mets. Milwaukee's playing to the under, 10-15. The Mets are playing to the over, 15 overs, 6 unders. That's one of the biggest overplaying teams in the league. We have a 7.5 on the board tonight. Milwaukee lost 4 in a row, 7 of their last 8 games. The New York Mets just lost 6-0 to Philadelphia, but did win that series 2-1. And the New York Mets here, Brian, very big number at minus 180 to almost 200 at some points. 7.5 on the board. Anderson versus DeGrom. I don't know what to do here, Brian. I mean, I think the dog's live.
The problem I have here is my number is minus 224 on the Mets. Huge discrepancy in starting pitching. We're getting about 46% advantage for the Mets here. I think it's the first time I've been able to say this in a couple of years, but I think the Mets bullpen is better than the Milwaukee bullpen. The Brewers right now are so it's hate or nothing in the Milwaukee bullpen. And the other day, I think he was just overworked and he had a bad outing. One of the few bad outings that he's had in a long time. You mentioned Milwaukee struggled in the last series. Actually, I believe they're playing 500 ball after they got off to that great start to the season. I like the Mets here. Problem is, you've got to lay that big number, and I don't know if I could do it. We will see. At this point, I'm leaning with the Mets. I've got about a 4% advantage on the Mets, which is enough for me to play it personally. I don't know if that's enough for me to give my clients. We'll see what happens in this number.
He's Bryan Leonard, WagerTalk.com. I'm the Prez. You're watching First Pitch. You can find us at WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and at the number one sports handicapping channel on YouTube, WagerTalk.
TV. Puck Time is already up. You can watch it with Alex, Andrew, and myself. We take apart every game tonight and tomorrow. Morning Joe in the bag with Marco, NBA, both tonight and tomorrow. Brian, let's continue. We have 15 minutes left in the show. We got Colorado playing against Atlanta. And, I've been telling everybody, I go over this every day, take the overs in the Atlanta game. Well, yesterday I had the under and I cashed it. I released it to my clients. Very rare that you're going to be seeing me bet unders in Atlanta. 4-2, lost to Cincinnati. Here we have Atlanta at 12-12, Colorado 11-14 on the season. Atlanta is minus 170-ish. The over and under is 9, and we're seeing a hell of a lot better baseball out of Colorado right now. They just beat Washington 2 out of 3 games. They beat Philly 3 out of 4 games. They swept San Diego. This team is coming together. They're also putting runs on the board. And that brings me to the over here. Look, I get that Fried is pitching lights out. 1.38 ERA, but his whip is basically 1. He's 3-0 on the season. I understand that, but Colorado's bats have come alive, and I like Atlanta over naturally. I'm going to sit out on the side here. I don't want to be laying such juice, and I like the over, and you can find 8.5s out there.
Yeah, you're right about Colorado playing a little bit better ball now. This Atlanta team peaked a little early last year. I thought they would be a little bit early. It's got a lot of good young players on this team, and some of them have already been up to the majors. They haven't played as well. The pitchers have been a little bit disappointing. But I don't understand why this line is as high as it should be. I only made this line 136, so there's value on the dog for me with Colorado. I'm looking over the actual numbers here, and sure, Atlanta's got a little bit better numbers across the board, but they're very slight. Starting pitcher 6%, hitting 8%. That doesn't equate to what this number should be here, and I made this line lower. I think there's value here on the dog, and it's one that I'm going to be looking to bet.
Next game up is Baltimore against Minnesota. I told everybody again, bet Baltimore over blind. It's 17-9 to the over. Minnesota 13-9 to the over. Obviously, very lopsided game. Minnesota, a good team, playoff chances. Baltimore is going to vie for the number 1 draft pick. And we see it in the lines. Minus 200 for Minnesota, over and under 9.5. I'm reading this board game after game after game, and there's just so many big favorites tonight. I don't like that at all. I just tend to stay away, and I'm going to be staying away from this game.
I think there's a little bit of value here on Baltimore. Baltimore at home hasn't played well. On the road, they've been a nice moneymaker. People are always nervous with Alex Cobb, and I fully understand it. The guy doesn't have great stuff, but he keeps hitters off balance. Now, when he's fully healthy, he's able to do that. He's one of those guys that's not going to overpower you. But he's coming off of surgery, missed all last season for the most part, and now we've got him coming back, and he has not looked good for Baltimore. Martin Perez used to play for Texas. He's pitched a lot better this year than he has in the past. Is that a small sample size? It may be. I think he's getting too much credit here. My number still rate Cobb is a little bit better here based on prior history. Small sample sizes for this year, say to play Perez. I can't do that. I think Baltimore is worth a look if you like playing big dogs. Maybe the plus 1.5 on the run line. But, I don't want any part of Minnesota with Perez laying this type of number.
Detroit 12-12 against a terrible Chicago White Sox team at 9-14. The White Sox are only 3-6 at home. 65% of the money's coming in on the White Sox, though, right now, which is a surprise. They're minus 133. The over and under is 9. And we've got Daniel Norris versus Carlos Rodon on the mound. Both pitchers with under 3 ERA. Carlos with almost 30 innings pitched already. The over and under, as I said, is 9. And, This is a game where I'm looking at the under. I don't want to be taking a lot of unders on the White Sox. I think their bullpen sucks. I think they struggle to hit the ball. But I think in this spot, I would lean on the under.
Usually, and this is just in every sport that I bet, if I could get a game where you get two teams that aren't used to winning, I like to play the dog. And that just means that a lot of these teams aren't able to close out a game. We see it all the time in the NBA. You have a big underdog that is in that game all game long, and at the end of the game, they don't know how to close it out against a quality team, and they end up losing that game. So anytime I can get plus money with the teams that are that equal, that are not very good, I like to take a look at the underdog. And I've got Norris rated 11% better than Carlos Rodon on this one. Yeah, I'm not big on either one of these teams, but I think Detroit on the season's played a little bit better ball. They've got a little bit better leadership out of the veterans on the team. I like the coaching staff there. I lean with Detroit in this matchup.
Houston hosting Cleveland tonight. Should be a fun game. Cleveland won 2-1 yesterday. Houston's a small favorite, minus 120 to 127. You want to bet Cleveland, you're getting 105. The over and under is 8.5. Kluber versus McHugh. Both disappointing starts to the season from an ERA perspective. But I can't take the over in this game. I'm getting, they're giving me 8.5. Where I'm going to bet is I'm going to take Houston to bounce back and beat Cleveland tonight.
My only play yesterday was Houston. That was a loser for me. I laid like 148 on Houston against Cleveland. Bauer pitched great, and that was a big rivalry game for the two because Bauer said some things about the Houston pitching staff using some illegal substances, let's just put it that way. And Bregman's been very vocal about that against them. So that was a major game for both those teams. Most people were paying attention to the NBA draft, but that was a really important game, especially for Bauer, because he's had his run-ins with Houston here. So slightly letdown situation here for these two after playing that. Houston's got a 21% edge offensively, 19% edge in the bullpen. Kluber rate's about 16% better for Cleveland. Kluber's been a little off and on this year. He hasn't been as good, as dominating as he has been in the past. In fact, the entire Cleveland pitching staff has been up and down this season. Luckily, they've been up more than down because those hitters, they've got one of the worst lineups in Major League Baseball. I made the line 124 here, so I'm not showing any advantage either way.
Brian, Cincinnati, 5 overs this year. Such a surprise. I think we're going to see a huge correction in that regard. They're 10-14 on the season. They're playing St. Louis 15-9. 81% of the general public's money is coming in on St. Louis. You can get them anywhere from minus 148 to 165, but we'll use the 150 number. The over and under here is 8. Cincinnati, they won, they lost, they won, they lost, then they won 3 in a row. They have won 5 of 7 games. They are starting to come on. Their bats are waking up a little bit. St. Louis on a 5-game win streak, really holding their opponents down to around 3 runs a game right now. Mikolas, 5 ERA against Descalafini, 5.5 ERA. I like the over in this game. I'm getting 8. I think Cincinnati is a better hitting team than they've shown this year. I know they're going to come around and start putting wood on the bat. I'm going with over 8 in this game.
I'm in this line 136, so not showing a huge amount of value. Miles Mikolas was a guy who came back over from playing overseas last year, looked really good. He hasn't pitched nearly as well this year, small sample size there. Descalafani is a guy who's had the ability in the past, hasn't really put it all together. But this is a game I'm going to pass. No, I think it's lined pretty well.
LA Angels beat the Yanks last night, but did lose that series. They're playing Kansas City, and they're in Kansas City. Kansas City 8-17 on the year, the worst record in baseball. Yet here they are at home, finding themselves basically in a pick'em situation against an LA Angels team who's not much better. The over and under is 9 in this spot. I'm going to pass on this game flat out, but maybe this is one of those spots where, you'll take whatever small amount of money you can get on Kansas City.
You've got two starters, and Tyler Skaggs and Danny Duffy, both coming off of injuries. Duffy was one of those guys that was a really good pitcher for Kansas City up until the last couple of years. He's dealt with a lot of arm problems, shoulder problems. Tyler Skaggs coming off the DL. Two guys that actually, when they're at their best, they're very good. Skaggs can't stay healthy, and Duffy, as I pointed out, can't stay in the lineup. I rate Skaggs 13% better. I rate the Angels offense at 21% better. I'm really surprised. This line is where it is right now. Anything can happen when you got two guys coming off the DL and not pitching for a while. But the Angel offense is so much better in Kansas City's right now that you have to give the Angels the advantage here. I've got this line much higher than what it is right now. This is going to be on my card tonight as I'll play the Angels. And I'm just hoping that both these guys come out healthy after this game, because it's a little dicey when you come off the DL and have to go 6 innings or so, 5 innings. We'll see what happens. Maybe if the teams go to the bullpens, the Angels bullpen I rate about 6% better, so that's a slight edge for them.
Brian, you know how hard it is to go on the road, play a 4-game series, and sweep. That's what Arizona just did against Pittsburgh, and handily 5-0, 11-2, 2-1, 12-4. That's a lot of runs. They're playing against the Cubs, and the Cubs are on fire right now. They've won 7 of their last 9 games. They did lose their last one to the Dodgers, but a 2-1 game, a hard-fought game. We've got basically a pick'em here as well. Arizona minus 111. The over and under is 9. I don't know where to go in this game. I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, we did some videos in preseason based on these teams, and I bet the Cubs under, and I bet Arizona over. Not in love with this Cubs team at all, especially the pitching staff. The Diamondbacks have better hitting than what a lot of people thought, but I make this line Arizona minus 102, so there's no advantage for me in this game. So with so many other games on the board that I think do have value, I'll be passing on this one.
Texas, Seattle 17-11 on the season, 8 units of money they've already made their clients. They're 18-9 to the over. Texas is 14-10 to the over. We do have a 9 on the board in this game. Texas has lost 4 in a row, including 3 to Oakland, and they got walloped by Seattle yesterday, 14-2. Their bullpen is probably a little tired right now. Seattle, prior to that win, had lost 3 in a row, but they are the better team here. Minus 159, 167, over and under 9. I hate to lay this kind of juice, but Seattle is a much better team, in my opinion, than Texas.
Both of these teams have definitely overperformed what people thought coming into the season. You mentioned Texas struggling against Oakland there. But keep in mind, this is a team who's played pretty well against Houston earlier this season. The bullpen for Texas isn't very good anyway. And as you mentioned, had given up 14 runs yesterday. That is a concern, but I can't lay this number with Seattle. Seattle right now is being overrated based on their record. If you look at their in-depth stats, they're not hitting the ball as well as a lot of teams are. They're just basically an overrated team right now, and anytime I can get a chance to go against Seattle, I will. I do like the Texas side, but I do have some concerns. But you're always going to have concerns when you're playing an underdog in this range, and I think some value is on Texas here, and that's the side I would look at.
He's Bryan Leonard. I'm the Prez. It's first pitch, 2 games left. Pittsburgh, the team we were just talking about, against the LA Dodgers. Both teams up money for their clients, albeit barely. Pittsburgh trending to the under 9-4 on the season, 9-14 on the season, 7.5 on the board, minus 180 for the home team. Brian, we've got to get this thing moving because I got Marco texting me for Morning Joe. What are you going to do in this game?
I've already bet the Dodgers at a better line than what we're seeing right now. Just a huge advantage offensively, 23% playing back home again. The Pirates don't hit lefties well on the road, 8% worse than league average. I lay the number with the Dodgers.
New York Yankees, San Francisco Yanks lost last night. Look, they're throwing out a tough lineup right now. That's for sure. Got a lot of injuries. 14-11 against the 11-14 San Francisco Giants. Minus 130 for the Yanks on the road. 6.5, Brian. I think offhand, and I could be wrong, the first 6.5 on the season. Obviously, Madison is pitching, but his ERA is high, 3.6. His whip's under 1. But, dude, I'm going to jump on over 6.5 pretty much every time it's out there.
You're getting two pitchers here that are coming off very good outings, both lefties. I made this line 146 for the Yankees. Yeah, you're right. That lineup has not shown a lot from a name standpoint, but they're still scoring runs.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 4, 7, 9.
Yankees got a lot of guys that are in the upper minors that would be starting for other teams. So when you're looking at your Luke Voits and those kind of players, these are guys that played pretty well. You know that you can't take anything away from them. So you just can't go by the names on the jerseys. I think the Yankees are the side here. I've got a 26% or 24% starting pitcher edge, and I'm going to go with the Yankees here. Although they don't hit lefties very well on the road, which is one of the reasons why you're getting that 6.5. But I'm going to use that as my free play. I see a 3% edge in this game, and that's enough for me to bet it.
He's Brian. I'm the Prez. That's First Pitch. Brian, thanks, my friend. We'll see you next Friday, same time, same channel, WagerTalk TV at YouTube. Make sure to watch Marco and myself break down the NBA games for today and tomorrow, and Alex and Andrew and myself on Puck Time break down all the hockey games. Be well, my friend, and best of luck this week.
Best of luck to everyone this weekend. Have a great day.